Okay, you got a fax, and then all of a sudden this came about. So how did that happen? Stephen, you tell the story so well.
Dave.
So a wonderful woman named Kathy Goldmark, who was a literary escort in San Francisco, which meant when you were on a book tour, literary escort. When you were on a book tour, she would take you around to the interviews and get you back to the airport and whatever. Was also a rock musician in San Francisco, had this idea that she would get a bunch of authors together to play one time a fundraiser for literacy or some cause. Amy once said we would do this to kill the whales. Because so the idea was we're going to do it one time, but she sent faxes out to a whole lot of people, and all the people who said they would be in this band became the Rock Bottom Remainders. And we did our one show. We were not good. We had a musical director, Al Cooper. We're still not good, I should stress that. Our music director was a guy named Al Cooper, who was a very well-respected rock and roll producer and musician. And after our first rehearsal, he said, he got us all together at the end of the day and said, in the morning, just when we started out today, we stunk. Now we stink a little bit less. Maybe eventually we'll just be a faint odor. But so we played a show, and at the end of that show, Stephen King.
I sat in the lobby of this place where we played. I guess there was a lobby there. It was Cowboy Boogie, or maybe we went back to the hotel. It's a long time ago. It's hard to remember. The fog sets in, and this was 1992, believe it or not, and we had black hair. And
or hair.
We had hair, yeah, that's true. And I said to Dave, this is really too good to just do it one time. I mean, we could do it again, or we could do it a bunch of times and write a book. And that would be, it's like my wife says that lobster is an excuse to eat butter, okay? And the way that I feel like it is that the book was an excuse to play shitty rock and roll. The other thing that Al said that first time was we played something, I guess it was Rid's song, 6, 4, 3, 2, 7, 8, 9, or whatever it is. And Al said, let's do it again and try to make that quantum leap to palatability. So that's how it happened. And so we did a rock and roll tour. Right, and it was
one of Aretha's old buses.
Yeah, it was Aretha's old bus. Man, it had the most amazing kitchen, and that's what happened.
And Roy, you were part of something called, or still, the Critics Chorus. What's that?
Yeah, you know how you can tell a writer who can diagram sentences if he doesn't know how to turn on a mic. I'm on. It doesn't know everything. Yes, the Critics Chorus were Joel Selvin and Matt Groening and me and I don't know, and then local. Dave Marsh, exactly. Right. Real Marcus.
Joel Selvin.
Joel Selvin. I think I said, huh?
Matt Groening.
We've now said Joel and Matt twice, which I think is. Anyway, the Critics Chorus our job was to make it clear that we were not pretending to be a good band, because anybody who had us as the Critics Chorus was reasonable in its ambitions.
Tell them the genre that you named us.
It was some kind of what was it? What was it?
Hard listening.
Hard listening. Yeah, I have that in 2 senses these days. Hard of listening.
As long as I've been hanging around with you, I've never really understood how Amy came to become the dominatrix in the band.
We were all too shy.
That's a through line, and there's so many stories. But Amy, how did that happen? You're such a
Well, I
You know.
thought, when Kathy asked me to join, I thought it was just about costumes. I didn't know I had to sing. And I was freaked out. And so in the beginning, the first show, I sang this really sweet Bye-Bye Love song. And then when it came to the second show, Al Cooper said, I picture our Amy, he said this in facts, I picture our sweet young Amy wearing thigh-high boots, leather, and a cap, and she's the dominatrix. And he said, that is the most sexist thing I've heard. And then Kathy wisely said, well, we could always sing something sweet, like Bye-Bye Love. And I realized that, this is about being really bad. And that you'll see, if you come to the show, they are really bad and need a lot of discipline. And it turns out that's become my signature song. Oh, that's supposed to be a surprise, so you don't know that if you come to the show.
You say singing in public is akin to a public execution, is what you said in this book. Yes.
I did?
Yes, you did. It's been a long time.
Yeah. We had a really good compliment, I remember, from Bruce Springsteen. Do you remember that? And we were at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and somebody said to me, to freak me out, Nancy Sinatra is in the audience. And I really did she wasn't. But Bruce Springsteen said that later. He was in the back, and he said, you guys are not that bad. But then he said, but if you get any better, you'll really be bad. And that is the difference between bad and really bad.
I want to ask Ridley and Mitch, they're two, and Sam are real musicians, but let's talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame a little bit more first, because it's my understanding that this is before my time, you got busted at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I think that was because of Mitch impersonating Elvis against the rules or something like that. Yeah.
What happened, we have played twice at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is sad, right?
How did that even
Including
happen?
the party that opened the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And the thinking was every major rock musician in the world was going to be there that night. And if they picked one of them to play, it would sort of be a diss on all the others. But if they picked us, nobody would even have to listen. So they picked us. And I'll never forget, Stephen walked in. Stephen sings Stand By Me. And walks in, and who's right in the front, Steve? Benny King! I'm the guitar. I'm carrying a guitar case, and hit this guy really hard and apologized. And he's like, and it's Steve Cropper, who's a really good guitar player, professional. But anyway, that was one time we played. Another time we played, we're in Cleveland, and with us that night were Frank McCourt, the great Frank McCourt, the late great Frank McCourt, and Roger McGuinn of the Byrds, who used to play regularly with us. Why? And we were in somebody's room after the show, and we were drinking wine and beer. And Frank and Roger were both Irish, started to sing Irish folk songs. And they were singing, and there's this pounding on the door, and this guard comes up and tells Roger McGuinn and Frank McCourt to shut up.
Did you get arrested, I hope? Or?
No, but they threatened that if we didn't, which would have been good.
But at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at that fundraiser, the manager of the building came to me and said, your contract specifically says no Elvis impersonators.
I didn't know that.
And I said, I guess we're not coming back.
You should probably contextualize that for everyone who wasn't there.
Okay, so when I was a very young man, I was a musician, and I lived over in Greece, or ended up over in Greece in the island of Crete, in a little fishing village called Agos Nikolaos, and I ended up getting a job singing there, and it was so remote that I did Elvis songs, and I think they thought they were original. And so I kind of got used to doing these Elvis songs, and I would kind of dance around the tables and everything like that. And then when we got to the band, Dave asked me to be in the band, and somehow they asked me, do an Elvis, or I do an Elvis, and Then came a jacket and a wig, and I didn't know it was illegal, though. I didn't know that I had actually broken any laws, although I do it so badly that I really don't think it qualifies as an actual Elvis impersonation. If you come tonight, I would encourage you to leave before that song. It's like 3 songs from the end, so you can, scoot out, but that's how I still end up doing the Elvis.
You got to look up Mitch and Burt Bacharach. Google Mitch Album and Burt Bacharach, and you can see him interviewing him. It was an amazing night at Live Talks LA, which Ted runs. A little plug for Ted. Ridley, you are a real musician too. So, what was your thinking
Nothing real
when you
about
got?
my musician.
Well,
No,
realer than.
Same way. I got a fax from Kathy, and she said, "I have no idea who's going to be in the band." At that point, I think I'd sold about 12 books, but I was out on author tours. And I received, it was 3 or 4 weeks later, I received a fax back. And she said, "So you're going to be the bass player, and here's your band. Amy Tan, Barbara Kingsolver, Stephen King, Dave Barry," and I about fell out of my office chair. And I said, "Hey, moi?" So I struggle on bass behind everybody, but it's been a ton of fun. We did have one, you mentioned a legal problem, and we did have actually an injunction against the band. And that's because there's a certain creative horror writer in the band, and he likes to improvise lyrics. So we would repeatedly sing this one song that it's illegal for me to mention. And as he got into the lyrics, he would begin to make them much more horrific. There were mentions of spleens on the ground and other things. Well, this got around somehow to the people who licensed this song. And they said, "You may not mess with our lyrics." And we said, "This is Stephen King. We can mess with anything." And they filed an injunction against us. But we had a secret weapon. We had Dave Barry.
Well, okay, I used to do this. It was what was the name of the company?
I don't want to name it.
Okay, Akov Rose. I used to get the whole audience to say, instead of Akov Rose, a bodily part. That's very bad to say. But that was our revenge to them. But Stephen, the lyric, this is not the one we got sued about. But Stephen once, I don't know if you even remember this. We're doing a song called "Last Kiss," very, one of those teen death anthems. Do you remember what you sang?
Teenager.
When I awoke, you know that line? When I awoke, she was lying there.
I don't remember.
This is what he sang one night, and we're like, when I awoke, she was lying there. I brushed her liver from my hair. We didn't get sued for that.
Just to clarify, I think it was Vial of Crack and Teen Angel. I'm allowed to say that, right?
Now you're going to get sued.
Now I'm going to get sued. Sam, I want to talk with Sam for a second about Kathy, the foundress of this group, because Sam actually married Kathy. Everybody loved Kathy, but Sam married her. The late Kathy.
Well, yeah, I loved her too, so
Yeah.
I married her.
Yeah.
What I have to say about that is, I love it. This band is so much fun. I just got to tell you, this is like family, and well, he actually is family, but this band is like family, and I love playing with this band. But I've always told people that, I married Kathy, my brother's Dave, and then I got into the band via double nepotism, basically. So, but Kathy was just a wonderful person, and I don't think I've ever met anybody who wanted, she would get all of you up here to do something if she could. She just loved getting people up, singing and playing, whether they were good or not, and thus we have the Rock Bottom Remainders.
Okay, Scott, let's talk about your antics, because they're kind of fun and sort of surprising if you've never seen the show. How did you develop your character, since you have no musical talent whatsoever?
Right.
Sorry.
It started from the emphatic need to make it clear to everyone that these people do not take themselves seriously if they let me on stage with them. And originally I was recruited, and I was so desperate to be a member of the Rock Bottom Remainders when they said, well, the only opening we have is for another chick singer. And I said, okay, I'll be the chick singer. So I started appearing in wigs and feather boas, and, you know, the rest
And
is
you
history.
liked it.
I
You
liked
liked
it,
it.
yeah, you know.
But then Alan came along and he sort of outdid you with a lack of rhythm and lack of musical talent.
I wrote a book with Dave, and during the course of writing the book, he said, hey, would you like to become a remainder? And I said, well, I can't sing or play an instrument. He said, already you're overqualified. And to this day, I would be shocked if my mic was actually turned on, okay?
Yeah, I don't think it ever has been. no.
It's actually not turned on.
And then
Literally shocked.
Mary's somewhere in the middle of all of this or edge of all of this, but she's better looking than Alan. So.
I thought I was the reason we were here. No, I mean, Amy and I were friends, and let's face it, everybody, there's too much testosterone in this band. And
Used to be a lot more, actually.
I have some dominatrix tendencies myself. And so I think, Amy, I don't know why you asked me to do it. I mean,
Exactly, too much testosterone. Too much testosterone.
But I also am gravely untalented, musically speaking, and probably every other way now that I say that. But, I had such a crush on everybody and just on the experience. It is a hairbrush band. It's humiliating. But I've been humiliated before. Look at my childhood. But no, I mean, when people say it's like family, I've got to say we don't see each other that often. When we cross paths, we see each other in pairs and thruples and quartets.
Thruples. We'd
Thruples.
like to hear more about that.
I'm trying to be, discreet. Yeah, I think I always had go-go dancer tendencies. I think if you have any dirty dancing experience, then this is the place for you.
Let's talk about the real rock mavens who've played with you, like Bruce Springsteen.
I'll tell this story.
Okay.
Because
Good.
I've told this a lot of times. So we were in L.A. It wasn't the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. It was L.A. And we're in a little club. And we were playing. There were maybe 1,000 people there, right, Dave? Okay. That's big for us. And we finish, and we run off stage, and they're still clapping, remarkably. And someone yells, "We should do an encore," because they often don't clap after we or have left the stage. And so we start running back on the stage, and I see this guy in a reddish-pink shirt, and I thought he was the janitor. He was skinny, and he was kind of raggedy looking, and we start running back out, and he takes a guitar. I thought, well, that's weird. The janitor's taking the guitar. But, that's probably better than us anyhow. So, and he comes running out, and we all run back on the stage. And I was standing on the riser because that's where the keyboard is. And Dave's in front of me. And now he comes out, and now this guy's got this guitar on.
My guitar.
Yeah. Okay, he took Dave's guitar, and he's got it on, and he's like fiddling with it. And so I lean over to Dave, and I go, "Dave, who's this guy?" And Dave turns around and he goes, "Bruce Springsteen." You could have fooled me. I mean, he had a cap and all that.
Well, I had to ask him, because we only had one song left. We don't have that many songs. And our encore is always Gloria, which is very simple song. If you take a guitar and throw it on the ground, it will play Gloria.
Right.
But I had to ask Bruce Springsteen, "Bruce, do you know Gloria?"
I had to sing backup with Bruce. And
To whom? Who were you singing back up to, Steve? Who sings lead on that song, Steve? Just want to confirm who Bruce Springsteen and Stephen King sang back up to.
Well, it was Dave Barry.
Thank you.
Yes, it was Dave Barry. And yes, it was Dave Barry. And that is a very simple song. It's only 3 chords. And I'm looking at Bruce Springsteen's uvula. in his throat as he's singing GLORIA, and I fucked up the chords. I did. There's 3 chords, but I got them all out of order. It was crazy. I was totally starstruck.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, you introduced him. And we had been playing for 1,000 people, and they had been nice to us. We thought we were doing really well. And Steve goes, we don't usually let people come on stage with us. We're going to make an exception because this guy says he's pretty good. Ladies and gentlemen, Bruce Springsteen. And he only got to the T of st, and those 1,000 people became 10,000 people. It was right. It was the loudest we've ever heard anything. They all mobbed the stage, and we do Gloria, which, as Dave says, is I didn't know there were 3 chords. I have to learn the other 2. I thought there was only 1 chord in that song. And Bruce would just, Dave would sing the lead, and then Bruce would rise up and go Gloria like that, and then he'd brought back Gloria, and we finish. And we're so elated with our finishing that we run off stage, never remembering that Bruce Springsteen's famous for doing like 3.5-hour-long concerts. He had no place to go. He would have stayed out there. We could have done anything. Yeah. We ran off stage and missed our opportunity to do another song with him. And then word had gotten out that he was there, and so we got locked in the basement of the place with him while the cops came to clear the club out. So we were stuck, or he was stuck with us, and that's when we all gathered. And I have a picture, and we're all gathered around him, and we all look like we're 5 years older, like this. And that's when he said, as Amy said, she goes, well, you guys aren't that bad, but I wouldn't get any better, because if you get any better, you'll just be another lousy band. And we took that as gospel and have lived by that.
But also the other really, besides Roger McGuinn, Bruce Springsteen one time, Warren Zevon, for whatever reason, loved us, and for like 10 years, he played every time he could. He would play gigs with us, but it was different because he had a small, more fanatic fan base. But we could go anywhere with Warren. And most of the time it was fine. But there's a bar in Coconut Grove called the Taurus. I don't know, some of you are familiar with it. Anyway, one night we used to play here at the book fair, and sometimes we would try to play a gig the night before to try to learn the songs. And so I called Tom, the owner of the Taurus, his friend, and said, do you think we could come play? And he said, well, there's a band that's going to be here that night. I'll ask them if they don't mind. And he said, no, they'll let you use their stuff. So we go up there, and I go, I'll never forget, the place is jammed, but not for us. There's just the usual drunks at the Taurus. And they're at the bar, and we come in and pick up our stuff, and I go, ladies and gentlemen, hi, I'm Dave Barry. This is Amy Tan, Warren Zevon, Stephen King. And the guy at the bar says, no, it's not.
Ted, why don't you tell us about the time Robin Williams opened for you in San Francisco, right?
So 2003, I had written Robin Williams' People and invited him to open for the Remainders and never heard anything until the afternoon of the gig. We were riding a bus from the airport, and I get this call, and I'm quiet, and Ridley is the official worrier in the band, and he looks at me like there's something wrong, and he goes, Ted, is everything okay? And I said, yeah, everything's fine. Would it be okay if Robin Williams opened for the band tonight? Take it from...
Then we nearly ran over, who'd we run over, Dave, in the van?
The governor of California.
I remember that, yeah, we played at the Fillmore, as I remember, which I remember standing next to you when we were sound checking, and we looked down at the floor and said, do you realize who's played here? Like Jimi Hendrix had played there, and that's another part of this that's amazing. Who else did we play with? Did we...
We played with, we played with...
You played with Santana?
Leslie Gore. We played with Leslie Gore and...
Gloria Gaynor.
Gloria
We sang the world's
Gaynor.
longest version of I Will Survive here in Miami.
Did. That's right.
She would not stop singing it. We're like, she sang it in English. She sang it all the way through in Spanish. And we thought we could close it up now. Sang it through in English again. We could have
almost
had
done.
anybody
Sang it
in
we
Spanish
wanted.
again. It was her hit. It was her big hit, and she was not going to let go of it that night. Right?
Has there been anybody who's wanted to play with you who you didn't allow? Amy says yes. Yeah.
No, I can't say because it's the people who said no and Kathy asked. You know, we all said yes, and there were people who were pretty big authors. Nah, I would never do that. And then later they were asking to be in the band.
Or the other thing is they'll say, I'm a really good guitarist. And like, you think that's going to get you in this band?
You need us. You need me.
But we do miss Greg Isles, the novelist
Yes.
Greg Isles.
Greg Isles,
Greg
Isles is watching.
Who is a tremendous guitarist. He played with a lot of different bands, and he's just a fantastic guy. And he said to me one time, he said, "You will sing, Don't Fear the Reaper." And I said, "Why me?" And he says, "Don't be fucking stupid." Because you're you. And I said, now wait a minute, Greg, you want to do the long version, don't you? Because you want to play that guitar break in the middle, don't you? And he said, yes, I do. And I said, okay, but I will not play guitar in this song. What I'm going to do is cowbell. I gotta have more cowbell. I gotta have more cowbell, and so that's what I did. Man, it was great. I was fantastic with that cowbell.
Have we talked about the audience reaction to Steve's presence on the stage? Did we? Huh? Yeah.
Let's hear it.
At one point, I don't know what city we were in. Chicago.
On Halloween.
It would be Chicago, yeah. And we looked out, and there were women out there holding their hands up with fire coming out of their fingernails.
Their fingernails were on fire.
No, the rest of us never got that, just Steve.
I thought you were going to tell the...
Ridley sees these women standing in front of Stephen with their fingers on fire, and Ridley comes over to me and goes, I don't ever want to be that famous.
Neither do I.
I believe that early on, before I was in the band, that your wife brought large panties and threw them up on Stephen, your wife brought large panties and tossed them large size, I mean.
I was going to ask about the panties, but wait, can we go back to now we're talking about panties, can we go back to dominatrix again? Because Amy got a letter about inaccuracies in mixing signals with bondage in your costume and BDSM, and I don't know anything about all that stuff, but you got some sort of letter.
Yeah, well, you know, how would I know? A lot of people think I'm a professional dominatrix, and this is important. And I was wearing a collar, and I got this letter that we had to read out loud that said, no, dominatrix does not wear a collar. It's the submissive one that wears it. And it was a sincere letter. We would appreciate your letting people know that was inaccurate. So yes, that was. I'm schooled, and I'm woke now. So
accuracy and representation.
I think Amy schooled the dominatrix, the S&M community.
Right.
I'm a good girl too. You know, I write mother-daughter stories. So.
And you've been happily married for a very, very, very long time.
54 years.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time.
And he's been part of the band and has nearly been killed by these guys. Yeah.
That's true.
Killed.
That's true. Well, first of all, I want to just, before I forget, Greg Isles is watching on C-SPAN. And we're going to say, hey, Greg.
Hello, Greg.
Hey, Greg.
We love you.
We need you.
We sound bad without you, Greg. We sound bad with you, but we sound worse without you. But, okay, Amy's husband, Lou. Is Lou here? Where's Lou? Got to be here.
Somewhere.
Anyway, Lou DiMattei is... Okay, Lou's here. Here he is. Come here, Lou. So I'm not going to give too much away of the plot here, but we do a song where Amy does a very dramatic thing. And Lou has to play the part of a motorcycle person who is involved in a crash. And so he used to do the crash. He would dive down onto the stage, crashing. And every time we would do it, we would get a little more elaborate with it. Hey, there we are. So finally, we're in New York City, and Lou does the best crash ever. I mean, he really goes down hard. It's very dramatic and exciting. He's writhing. We think, well, this is a new wrinkle. He's writhing in pain now. We didn't do that in the act before. Well, so Steve and I are standing next to him. We decided to make it even funnier. We kick him. We're kicking him, and he's writhing in pain. It's just hilarious, really funny, hilarious. We get off stage at the end of the night. Where's Lou? Lou's in the hospital. Lou your collarbone, correct? Broke his collarbone and managed to complete the tour, still doing the act, but not falling quite as hard. Yeah.
Wait, that's a perfect segue to the spleen story, the very famous spleen story.
This turned into the Dave Barry hour here.
Yeah, okay. Someone else, Scott can tell this.
I'm going to tell the story very quickly,
Okay.
and then I'll shut up for the rest of the afternoon.
Okay.
One night, there are bands we've been told that practice the songs ahead of time. That's their secret. That's not so much what we do. We play the gig and then we go, we should have practiced those songs ahead of time. But it's too late then, so we just go to the bar. So we do a gig in New York City, go to the bar, and I'll be honest, I had a little too many vodka gimlets. And so I am trying to follow two conversations. Roy Blunt is on one side of me telling very funny stories, and Scott's on the other side of me telling this long, complicated thing about his spleen. And I keep getting confused because I'm trying to listen to two conversations about whether he has a spleen or not. And twice I interrupt him to say, wait, I thought you don't have a spleen. And Scott's, no, I don't have a spleen. That's the point of the story. Third time I interrupt him, Scott is a gentle man. He takes a Sharpie and writes on my right forearm in big letters, no spleen. Which solved the problem for the evening. Then we all go to bed. Not together. We're not that kind of band. But we all go to bed. We have to get up really early the next morning to get a train to Boston. We're going to do another show in Boston. So I get up early in the morning, very little memory of the night before, staggering to the bathroom, and I catch sight of myself in the mirror. I see there's words on my arm, and it says, no spleen. And I have no idea why that's... And do you know that urban legend about the salesman who's in a hotel and this woman slips him a Mickey and he wakes up the next morning in the bathtub covered in ice with a note saying, we have harvested your kidney. So for just a few horrible seconds in New York, I thought, oh my God, they've harvested my spleen. But I don't know where to look, I don't know where it is. Does anybody? And so gradually my brain reboots. And I think, oh my God, nobody who would harvest your spleen. You don't need a spleen. That's the whole point of Scott's story. There's probably an expression in organ harvesting circles. He's so dumb, he'd harvest his spleen. So anyway, that was the worst thing that ever happened to me on the tour, and it was Scott TUROW's fault.
I've heard that story 100 times, and I always laugh. There's an incident, I think it was at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where someone came up to you, Steve, and I thought you were Steven Spielberg.
Right. Tell the story.
Well, I've been mistaken for Steven Spielberg a lot. And it's very difficult. I'm, 6'3", and he's 5' nothing, and he's a film director, and I'm a writer, but it's the similarity of the names, I guess, as Stephen King and Steven Spielberg. But actually, that's an uninteresting story to me. What is an interesting story to me is we had the critics' corner to start with. We had all these critics, and none of them could sing, and none of them could play. That was really kind of like their purpose. They just kind of screamed.
I think we were pretty good on short shorts.
Well, yeah, short shorts, everybody's good on short shorts. Yeah, well, short shorts, yeah. So anyway, we decided that we were going to do that song by the Trogs. What's that? Wild Thing, okay. And we decided to give Joel Selvin, who was the critic for the San Francisco Examiner, an ocarina solo, okay? He had a little thing that was like a sweet potato, and it would go, do, 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 do. That was the middle, that was the solo for Wild Thing, you know. Ba, ma, 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 Wild Thing, I think I love you. And then he played it, a little ocarina. And in rehearsal, it went terrific. And he gets on stage, and he blew so fucking hard that no sound came out at all. And little by little, I mean, you had to see it because he was bald. And little by little, this red would rise. It was like a thermometer until his entire face was puce, and he's blowing his ass off, and no sound is coming out at all. And afterwards, he says, "How'd I do?" I said, "Joel, you did fantastic." That's my one remainder story.
Thank you. Okay, writing, I think everybody can agree, is a really isolating, lonely, sucky kind of profession. I do it myself. Yeah, it's pitiful. So if we can just go down the row, what is it about this band? It's fun, obviously, but what's different about what you're doing here with each other than when you're sitting at home working, typically? I'll have you go first.
For one thing, we never ask each other, what are you writing and where do you get your ideas?
The worst question.
But Steve had a great answer to where do you get your ideas. I didn't know this. If I had known it, I would have written many more books.
I don't remember.
It was Bob's used ideas in Utica, New York.
From a little store,
I used to say in a used bookstore in Utica, New York, yeah. And then I got into trouble from Utica by that, but you just can't, you can't please everybody. I could have said Paramus, but, you know, yeah. But the thing is about what we do is solo job. I mean, every now and then some of us will collaborate on a book. It never really goes extremely well. It's always tough. You have to sublimate your ego in a way. But with the band, you know, we can actually talk with our peers and we get to fulfill our childhood fantasies. And so we still play like we're in childhood. So, you know, it's a great gig to have. It's great to have the band to blow off a little steam. And man, I love seeing all you guys. I love you, man.
Roy, were you going to say something?
Was I going to say something?
You look like you might say something.
Well, I mean, Steve has just brought a tear to my eye. And, I forgot. I was going to say that writing is more like playing the ocarina alone. Ocarina solos.
Alan, Mary, you're new, but what do you get out of this?
We're new, but, you know, and yet we feel old, don't we, darling?
Incredibly old.
Oh, yeah, no. I mean, writing is like butchering eels. They say what musicians do is playing. And you said childhood dreams, and it really is more like we just laugh all the time, mostly at, not with each other, I've got to say. But plus, everybody is, I mean, you guys know this, you're probably in this room for this reason, is that people who read and write are often really articulate. You know, because they spend a lot of time thinking about words, and everybody on this stage is an inspiration as a writer, both in their practice and I've got to say it. No, I've got to say it, and they're hilarious. They're just 2 of 1. There's not one who doesn't crack me up, and they are because they're lonely and sad. because no one sat at their cafeteria table, this is the cafeteria table we needed.
You know, Samuel Johnson once said, he was talking about women preachers and dancing dogs. This is in a time before everybody got woke. And what he said was, you don't expect to see it done well. You're surprised to see it done at all. And we feel that way a little bit about what we do, but you know, whether you're writing books or whether you're playing music or whether you're just, you know, kind of goofing off and doing the stuff that we do sometimes in the band, you'll see tonight, you know. We're entertainers, okay? This is what we do. We're supposed to take you away for a little while from whatever it was that you were worried about and just kick some ass and have a good time. That's it.
What I appreciate the most is that none of the members of the band has ever come up to me and said, I have a nephew who wants to be a comedy writer. Can you read his 1,500-page screenplay? Right? That's never happened.
Oh,
Too bad.
I was getting ready to, but that's all right.
I think that you have a song prepared to play today. It might be a little early, but and are we equipped to take audience questions? But do you want to do the song first to get everybody primed to, or are you ready?
We were thinking about doing a song for you, but we're a little nervous about it. Is it okay if we do a song? Yeah. I want to stress ahead of time that we haven't really practiced this a lot. This particular song.
I have to be able to see Ridley, you know.
And we need a Rasmo to come up on our sax player. And is Josh around? I don't know.
Can you want to contextualize the musicians coming up?
Erasmo is our saxophone player. He's a highly trained professional, not an author. And Josh Kelly is our drummer.
So there are a few real musicians who join the Remainders. That's their secret.
So anyway.
And they're here now.
So anyway, we're a literary band. So we want to do a literary song. This is a song about a book we all know and love very much. And it's just a famous book we all love a lot. Or at least we had to read it. A Moby Dick, a Moby Dick, Dick. Want to tell you all the story about a great big whale. Moby Dick, 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 Dick. He got a great big head, he got a great big tail. Moby Dick, 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 Dick. But that ain't the thing that makes him such a sight. Moby Dick, Dick, Dick. Dick, Dick. His great big body is entirely white. Moby Dick, 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 Dick. A Moby, well, he's the baddest thing you've ever seen. Moby Dick. It's kind of nasty and it's kind of mean. Moby Dick. He strains plankton with his baleen. Look at that, there he goes.
You move me.
Wrong side.
Well, one day Moby, he was swimming around. A cat named Ahab tried to take him down. Ahab messed up, he fell off the ship. And Moby swallowed his leg like a Pringle chip. Well, he's the baddest thing you've ever seen. It's kind of nasty and it's kind of mean. He beat that boat like a tambourine. Look at that.
There he blows!
Moby Dick. Well, Ahab came back for another try. He took a harpoon and he let it fly. Things got rowdy and things got vicious. And now old Ahab sleeps with the fishes. Well, he's the baddest thing you've ever seen. It's kind of nasty and it's kind of mean. He made love to a submarine. Look at that.
There he blows!
Moby Dick. Fade out now. We're fading out. A Moby Dick. A Moby Dick.